framed it with the team kind of as a team very similar to us in that we've been through the rigors of the SEC with similar overall success, record wise. We're anxious to see which team has shown the most toughness to go through that and, still be excited to play at this time of the year. Obviously, pointed out to the team that, Missouri's been in every single game that they've played down to the wire in a number of them. So maybe they have had more competitive games overall. I certainly as good a 2-10 team as there is in the country, no doubt. So that was kind of how we framed the week. I think, the majority of our kids have responded in a positive way. I'm not naive enough to not think that there are people who are counting down the days till the end of the season. I'm aware it's human nature, but I think for the most part, we've got the bulk of our team that's still excited about the opportunity to close the season out and build a little bit of momentum before we go to the SEC tournament and wrap it up in a fashion that can build a little momentum as we go into the offseason.
All right, Ethan.
Yeah, Mike, you kind of hinted at it there, how Missouri, probably a pretty deceptive record right now, just with how well they've been playing kind of ever since that Texas game for them. What have you seen from them that's allowed them to be hanging with these teams?
Well, they present you with a unique matchup. They have got a lot of versatility and a lot of size, strength, and ruggedness that it takes to play in this league. And I think it forces some mismatches. You've got to guard Randall with a player that's not used to guarding a kid like Randall. And then, somebody's got to guard Slaughter. And, every scouting report in the country says she's going to go left, but nobody has stopped her yet. They used to say it about Plum. She goes lefter. She just keeps going. And she's strong and she's physical. And, that core group has played together a lot this year. They've played a lot of minutes together, and they have been battle tested. So it's obvious that they keep playing hard. You watch them on film, and without a stat sheet in front of you, you would never think a team with the record that they have in league would play that hard. They just don't. Robin does a great job with them. Their staff does a great job of getting them to understand the big picture. And I think as a result, that's why they're, one possession away from Ole Miss just last game. You watched the end of that game. They had every opportunity to win that at Ole Miss. So it's a team that's tested. It's a team that we've had a lot of recent success against, which is a little bit scary as well because, when those strings start to get as long as they have, it's a matter of time. But I think they've just stayed confident. I think they obviously are living in a reality world or they wouldn't keep showing up and playing everybody as tough as they do. I'm sure they're looking at this game much like we are and that we're in similar situation. And, it's a big game for both of us.
I've been playing with the scenarios, and I think everybody does this time of year with SEC tournament. And there's a lot to play for this week for you
Yep.
guys. Kind of what's the message to the team? I know you said there's always the worry about players that are, ready for the end of the year, but there's a lot to play for.
Well, I laid it out yesterday. I got the board out. Y'all know how I like to keep our kids in aware. I don't want them to be unaware. I got the magnets out that show the 5 teams that are down there around that I think we can still change spots with in the SEC tournament. And if things work out the way we need them to work out, we win 2 games and the right things happen along the way, we could be the 12 seed. And that's a lot different than 16. It just sounds different. It's not where we would be 4 spots higher than every league coach picked us. We were a unanimous last pick. So if we can finish not the 16th seed, that's saying something. It's not saying everything. It's not going to hang a banner for it, but it does make the way that you feel, the way you go into the offseason feel a little bit. So, yeah, there's still a ton to play for. And, I think at this point, Ethan, if there is somebody, and I'm not calling anybody out, I just, it's human nature for people to, maybe be looking to what they're going to do on spring break for the first time in 6 years. We haven't had a spring break, so we've been playing in the postseason. So maybe some kids are looking. I know that, but there's enough competitor in the kids that we do have in the right direction. I think it'll overtake anybody that's got any doubt. And I gave everybody the opportunity. Again, I'm not letting y'all in on anything other than what I would tell anybody I'm talking to, but I gave kids the opportunity. If you have already checked out, don't come to practice tomorrow. Don't show up. Certainly don't show up for the game on Thursday night, and don't go on the plane with us to College Station. If you're there, be there, live it and own it and be that person, but don't keep showing up and be checked out. So I let them sleep on it. I let them have practice yesterday. We'll see. I don't know. We may not have enough people to play. I may have to. Our soccer team just won the intramural championship on Sunday, so we'll find five. But I'm not going to go on the floor Thursday night or on the trip with anybody that has noticeably checked out. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I've decided to handle it. I think, I wouldn't have done that 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or maybe even last year. But times have changed in college athletics, and I think I have to make adaptations and do things like that. If they're done, that's fine. If you've made up your mind, you're going in the transfer portal or you're giving basketball up or whatever you're doing, start it now. You don't have to finish. There's nothing that says that. So I don't know. I haven't had anybody call me overnight. I didn't have any text messages waking up to. I didn't have any calls from parents. So I'm expecting a full team at practice, but I did give them the opportunity to make sure that everybody that shows up at practice is pulling in the right direction.
Obviously a different circumstance, but I've been intrigued watching this documentary with the men's team about how when they went to Kentucky, Calipari talked to his players about, playing their former team and stuff. Is that something with Izzy? It's a full circle moment for her playing Missouri. Is that something y'all talk about, or is it just kind of?
And I'm sure with their case, it's so fresh. It's 1 year to the next. There's a lot. It was just not one person carryover. Like Izzy has no animosity towards them. They have no animosity toward them that I'm aware of. You've been in the room. You know how much credit I've given Robin and her staff for what they did with Izzy as a freshman and sophomore up there. So, and I'm close with Robin. So I don't know. I haven't watched the documentary, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but I think I have enough to just say that I think it's just a different circumstance. So no, I haven't played it that way. And there was a stop in between. She went to Arkansas State before that. So I think it's a little different, but I didn't really choose for that. But the other thing I can tell you about Izzy is that she treats every opponent the same, whether they're ranked, not ranked, someplace that she knows somebody, doesn't know somebody. She treats every opponent the same, and her approach is always the same. What can I do to help our team get the best chance to win? And it's a hard line for her to walk every night. She's done it remarkably well for the number of games that we've played. So I don't think anything's going to change this last, the number of games that we might have left.
And then
That's a good question.
obviously this time of year, you're wanting to be your healthiest and kind of, starting to figure things out and for SEC tournament. Do you feel like your team's from a health perspective getting there?
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're healthy considering the rugged schedule we've had, the people we've had to play, and non-conference all the way through the entirety of its schedule. So no, I think we're as healthy as we've been. I think we've done a great job of managing load on our kids that are playing a lot of minutes. As far as overall health of a team, out of the 45 teams that I've been a part of in my life this late in the year, I tell you, we've been very fortunate and no major injuries. The ones we have had, we've managed. I think we've been very strategic about how obviously we've used Izzy. I think Kiki's timing is coming back. It's, you don't set out the number of games she and Keats did and come back without some form of ramp up. But yeah, I would say after this little set of games, we'll be as healthy as we've been in a long time. We were limping into the SEC tournament last year with a lot of major injuries. So yeah, certainly better than the last 2 or 3 years. And I would argue that it's as good as we've ever had health wise.
Got a couple more. Just
Yep.
it probably gets lost a little bit in Sunday's game just with the second half, but Danica was on the receiving end of a lot of passes from Izzy, and she was finishing down low. What have you seen from her, just from the progression from day one to now, to where she's really battling in there?
Yeah, she does. And she did. I mean, Reagan Beers is as hard a true post player there is to guard in the country. And if it's not her, it's Lauren Betts. We had to guard her too, So, the thing I've told Danny is you've seen the best, when you see what it looks like and you know what it's going to take. She's an eager learner. She's very, very hard on herself, but she's continued to really progress. And again, if anybody would have had the opportunity to be in our preseason workouts the day that she stepped on campus to where she is today, it's kind of unique. Her parents are on campus. Her parents, Pena's parents are here, and Chris's parents are all here the first time together. And so to see it through their eyes, and for them to say, "Wow, she has come so far," that's the feedback that you get when you realize, what the island, the size of Malta, and the divisions that she's been playing in, the magnitude of the jump from what she's been doing to who we've asked her to try to guard. Yeah, I'm glad you saw that and pointed out because it has been a great freshman year for her. And from start to finish, the product looks completely different, and I think it's encouraging to know that that's in her. That if she can continue to make that progress, what she'll look like when she's an upperclassman here and has that experience and a full summer. She didn't get here till late, so she really didn't get a full summer on campus because she was with our national team, and they don't have those obligations this summer. So I'm really excited to see what happens after she's with our strength and conditioning and recovery and rehabs and all the things that she can do. I think she's got still a lot of room to grow. She knows that, but she certainly had progress.
And speaking on development, Vera has had so many, I feel like just strong moves to the goal, but then it's just a little unpolished right now where it's like she doesn't finish it once she's there a lot of
Yeah.
times. With her, what do you think that potential is there just from like she's obviously really skilled. It's just yeah, like I said, a little unpolished.
Yeah, and that's usually Ethan's speed of the game. You see it when you see things in flashes like that, and it's there. Then it's a matter of the game slowing down for her. And there is a language barrier. We can say that we've managed it the best we can, but it's certainly there. A lot of information comes at her on a daily basis that we've been used to saying things for 45 years. Like I said, I've been on 45 teams, so when I say something I've got that curse of knowledge that I know what I'm talking about, but I might not explain it very well. So when you factor in the amount of things that's gotten thrown at her, the amount of minutes we've asked her to play, but yeah, I know what you're saying. She'll make a move that looks like Akeem Olajuwon on one play, and then I think about the play we threw to her on the baseline. She took off running like a wide receiver. Those are kind of the two diametrically opposed plays. She's got the dream shake in her. She's shooting the three as high as percentage as anybody we've got. They all look good coming out of her hands. I think she's got a lot of room for potential growth, and it's still going to be a slow process, but um, there is no doubt it's there. So that's what's encouraging. She's committed to really getting in the gym this summer, I think, and work on the things that she can work on. And she's kind of playing a little bit out of position as well. I think she's probably more of a true four. And if we can have some success in the transfer portal, getting a big five, when we recruited her, we had Miriam. Miriam didn't transfer till very late in the process. We haven't really talked a lot about this. I've talked to friends and things about it. The problem for us last year was that the transfer portal was just a long cycle for us. We knew a couple were leaving right off the bat, and Jersey had left at Christmas, but then it just strung out all the way through to the very end. It wasn't like it all happened at once to where we could go back into the portal and fill the holes. It happened late with Sam and Miriam. So when Vera came, she was thinking of four to play alongside of Miriam. So we'll go in the portal. We'll work the portal very hard to find a true five player. They're rare, but we'll find one. With Rev Share potentially coming, I think we're going to be uniquely positioned to attract a big. That'll be our primary focus to give somebody to play alongside those kids we'll have returning. But obviously, let Vera play a more natural position. I can certainly see her becoming a 3-point threat. And then that changes her matchup too. If she can do that, that's going to change her matchup to some of these other players who maybe around the basket she'll be a little more successful against. But overall, she's had a fabulous season. Our league is too good probably for her to be in the talk for these freshman teams. And she's not really a freshman. I guess she's technically a newcomer, but she's had a really, really good season for us under the circumstances.
I said that was my last thing. I got another follow up with that. Is
Yep.
just with obviously things change once the portal opens, and sometimes you lose players that you didn't expect.
Yep.
To. But do y'all have right now, based on the signees that you have coming in and stuff, a target number of players that you're probably going to try and get in the portal?
No, Ethan, I'll tell you, after the experiences of the last 2.5 years, not just mine, but colleagues and friends I've talked to, you have to be prepared to replace everybody. If you're not, when that portal opens, you're behind. So as much as I would love for us to have some retention, yeah, in my in between hours and my hours after we're done practice and before I start planning the next one, yeah, we do work on having a plan for replacing every single position on our team. Um, I wish it wasn't that way. I don't like it, but it is the reality of the times. And you add in there now even the uncertainty of the rev share not going to be decided until April 7th for sure. Um, I've seen other schools starting to release it. We're not there yet. So I think you have to be prepared for the unexpected. There's some you can speculate and, you can try to guess and you'd be wrong. So I don't waste time and energy trying to speculate what kids are thinking. I can only go by what is actually going to happen. So I've got a plan for if we have to start from scratch. I have a plan if we don't have, we don't have many spots, but we have needs. We've certainly seen enough from our league on what it takes to be in the top half of this league, which is going to get you an NCAA tournament consideration. So we know what it looks like now, and we will have a roster that looks more like the teams that we had in the past because we'll be better equipped. We will not wait as soon as our season is over. We'll have immediate. I'm calling them negotiations. I don't think there's any other word. We don't call them player meetings anymore because that's not what they are. They've become negotiations. We'll start those the day after the NCAA allow. We have to have them. They get 7 days off from your last game, and we'll start immediately going into plan to be ready for the portal opening on March 23rd or 26th, I think it is. I can't remember the exact date. I've got it on a calendar, but the day that opens, we'll spring into action and start building the roster that we know we have to be more competitive on the floor for next year.
People have been talking about rev share, and I think NILs maybe gotten like it's still going to exist. People might be, I don't know, like downplaying the importance of that. I'm just curious of where you feel like your program's at from an NIL perspective right now.
Well, NIL will not go away, but it's going to be more regulated. If you read anybody that's wanting to read on it, the term you're looking for is third party NIL. And it's more the true essence of what NIL was meant to be when it was established. A fair market value determined across the country so that everybody's playing as closely to the same set of rules as you can. There's going to be a third party. I think it's been announced, but I don't know that for sure. You'll have to research it and see if it's been announced. I think it has been a third party group that will determine fair market value for every person's true NIL. You will have to have a name, image, and likeness to participate. You won't no longer be able to tell people that you have a name, image, and likeness if you don't have one. You're going to have a proof of that. So it's going to become a lot more challenging. But because of the rev share, their base salary, I guess you would say, will come from the universities. If the House case is settled on the 7th, as I understand it. This is all as I understand it. I'm not telling you it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It's as I understand it. But if it's ratified on the 7th, the rev share will come in, and we will have a certain percentage of money to pay our kids directly. The third-party NIL will still exist, but not in the manner that it has been. It's not just going to be decided but between the person giving the money and the person receiving the money. There's going to be a third party to determine fair market value. And it will not be the amount of money that it has been. So there's a change in that. It will still exist, but not probably the way that most people throw the term around. NIL's kind of become a suitcase term, like Coke or Jacuzzi or whatever. I mean, everybody just assumes every dollar is NIL. That's never been the case, but that's kind of what it's been lumped into. So, I encourage people to spend. I'm not even going to use Gary Vaynerchuk's 40-hour rule. 40 minutes. Use 40 minutes and research it before you get too deep of an opinion on how it's all going to work. If you spend 40 minutes on it, you'll be better informed. If you spend 40 hours on it, you'll be up to speed, and you probably have discussions with people that have spent 400 hours on it at least. So there's a lot out there to digest. I can tell you it's much needed. It will help us, particularly our women's basketball program. We're going to be in great shape because we're going to be back to as even of a playing field as we've had since prior to COVID and prior to NIL, when we had NCAA tournament rosters and teams, and we'll be back to that. I don't know how long the adjustment period will take for it to correct and recalibrate to where everybody's at the same spot, but it's a step in the right direction. And I'm very hopeful. We'll see what happens on April 7th. I have no knowledge of which way it's going, but a lot of these stacks of paper behind me are different plans ready to go into place once that's set, and once we get word from our campus administration on what it looks like on our particular campus, we're ready to go to work.
Thanks, Mike. I took this on my phone and I'm seeing Courtney's here too. I thought it was just us. So, Courtney, if you had a question for a while, I'm so sorry.
Ethan, you do not have to apologize. I just thought I would raise my hand, but I think Mike kind of answered my question there since we were talking about revenue share. And I know there's a lot that's unknown right now with it. I think Deloitte is the company you're talking about that's going to do that.
Has that been officially announced?
It has been when I've done my research on it, because I have done more than 40 minutes on it. That is what I've read, that Deloitte's going to handle that fair market value. And they're going to be that outside company that hopefully does everything correct. And if they don't do everything correct, the NCAA will fire them, right? They'll just get rid of them, try someone else. So
I think there's an enforcement. I don't even think it's the NCAA. I think there's going to be an enforcement arm that's made up of some athletic directors, some legal counsel. As you start to go into that, I think there's going to be a new enforcement procedure that's not NCAA. So you're right. I think that Deloitte was one of the names I had heard. I have not in the last couple of weeks done 40 minutes, so you're ahead of me on the update, but I have heard their name. So if it's out there officially, that was one of the names that was floating around. And obviously they're involved with the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball and everybody when it comes to that. So obviously a lot of experience in handling it. I think if that's who's been selected, they beat out a lot of people because a lot of people wanted to be involved in it, and it will be a good thing. I mean, you're going to have to prove, some of the stories we hear about how revenues or how NIL's been dispersed across the country have been mind blowing. The amount of money that's been provided to somebody for doing something that was certainly not fair market value. I think that those types of shenanigans will stop. I think any company would stop those, but somebody with the reputation of who you mentioned would certainly not let something like that get by.
Yeah, and that my follow-up to this, because you kind of mentioned it just briefly there. I'm kind of wondering how coaches are just really handling this. And I appreciate you for giving us a peek behind the curtain a little bit, because you don't really know what's going to happen April 7th, but you have a couple of plans, right? So you think if this goes through and everyone feels very confident about that, and I hope so, you have a couple of different plans, but you do believe that revenue sharing will help you guys because it's going to level that playing field. And for people that, you did a great job explaining it there, but I'm just kind of curious because so many people have kind of said, oh, the money's going to be mostly to football, then to basketball. Do you feel like women's basketball will get a piece of the pie? Do
Yes.
you feel, okay, good. Okay, kids, that's my biggest question is like, how are women's sports going to be affected by this? Because you've heard a lot about football. You've heard a lot about men's basketball and baseball. And I'm just wondering, I hope women's sports don't get left to the wayside kind of thing.
Yeah. Women's basketball will not. It's named in the lawsuit. The House case is one of the named sports. I don't know how it'll happen from campus to campus, but left out is not an option. I've never heard it even be remotely discussed that it would be left out. So I don't know the percentages. Courtney, I'll tell you this: it's it's called revenue share, and I'm not sure there's a women's program in the country that truly makes revenue. There's some that have ticket sales that may But by the time they pay all their bills and the time they do everything, I don't know that there's a revenue producing, and I could be wrong about that. And I don't have the research to back, but there's very, very few if there are. So I'm excited that we are included in the conversation when we don't produce revenue, if that makes sense. I know we're vital to the campus. I know we're vital to the overall landscape of college sports. And I think that's where administrations and athletic directors and commissioners and everybody that's got to, they know that the place at which women's basketball is nationwide right now. It's an important time for us to continue to invest in women's basketball. So I'm excited that we're included in it. I don't know that the exact percentages will be the same every single place. I don't even have the pipe dream that should be the case. Because it is revenue sharing and we don't produce revenue, I think we have to be very careful about demanding things sometimes and be thankful for what we do get. I'm going to fight for every single percentage point, every dollar and dime, but I also understand our place when it comes to the overall health of an athletic program from campus to campus. So I'm thankful for what we have. We're going to spend the money that we have in the best possible plan that we can. You said that you mentioned we have a couple of plans. I've got 8 or 9 different plans, Courtney, and some of them involve it doesn't go through. What happens if it doesn't go through? I've got to have that plan ready because it is literally going to be overnight. We've had so much change that we've gotten to where you better have a plan because it can happen overnight. If you're not ready to pivot immediately, you're behind, and we can't afford to be behind. We have to be on the cutting edge of those things. Just to overcome everything else that we have being a small state and being in a tough conference and not having a historic, program that's been to the NCAA tournament, more than 3 years in a row ever. We have to understand where we've been, where we are, and where we're going to have a plan to know where we're going. And I think I know where we've been. I certainly know where we are. I don't like being in the position that we are in. And I want to do everything we can do to make sure we're not in it again. And to doing that, it's having these piles behind us and talking to people and having multiple. I trust Hunter. I trust Commissioner Sankey. And those are the two people. The reason I trust them is because they got us through COVID with Flying Man. They proved themselves to be trustworthy and that they're doing the absolute best they can for the SEC and for our particular student athletes on our campus. So I'm waiting for information from them. And when I get it, I'm ready to go. We've been in constant contact. I've had more meetings with Hunter and my sport administrator, Dorita, this year than ever because of the anticipation of what's coming. We're on the same, we're lockstep side by side. That's our motto in basketball, and that's the way we've been with them. We've had tons of communication. We get updates consistently, the best form of the information that we can possibly be given. And we're ready to go in whatever direction this thing leads us.
Well, I appreciate your honesty because I know there's a lot of questions about it, and I'm just, it's been just kind of weird to navigate even what's out there in information. So I appreciate your honesty on all that.
And what we learned from COVID, we all know that from COVID, when you lack information, we all go negative. I mean, that's just human nature. When we have lack of information or incomplete information, it's human nature to go to the negative and think it's, a conspiracy theory or something's negative. It's not always the case, and nobody's holding out. It's just you have to be. You can't be so set in your ways without knowing all the information. So anybody that's confused by it, I have a number of conversations with my friends that really truly care about the direction of college sports. There's certain people that are just going to complain because it's how they are and they like conspiracy theories. I love a good conspiracy theory too. Don't get me wrong, but I am in search of the truth and as much information as we can have. So anytime I can ever help, like I said, I don't know everything, but I have researched it and have listened and talked to a lot of people and try to have the best plan we can for our kids, so that we can do the best we can for our team, our university, and as a whole, and our sport as well.
Well, I appreciate it. And that's all I had. Sorry, Ethan, I took over from you. That's all I had.
Oh no, you're good. I didn't see you. We were small but mighty today.
Yeah, that was the longest one I think we've done. All right, thanks.